Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
Question this week is describe and talk about your favorite meals or foods. It could be a meal that you've had in the past that was somehow special, or something you like to cook, a favorite recipe. Do you actually, is it something that you go to a favorite restaurant and always order the same thing? Or do you cook it yourself? Or do you like, or is it better when you have your favorite meal with friends and family, or it doesn't matter maybe? So I'll go first. So I will say that I will eat almost any kind of pasta, and there are quite a bit of variety in the world of pasta. And I don't discriminate between red gravy, gravy as we say, or Alfredo sauce, or pesto sauce. Anything will work for me. I do like fresh pasta. In fact, my sister and her boyfriend have been making some fresh pasta, and we're going to get to eat some of it next week, which I'm looking forward to. And usually pasta includes two of my favorite spices, which are basil and garlic. And we make a homemade red gravy or red sauce with lots of basil, like the leaves from 3 plants of basil, and about almost a whole head of garlic. And so a big plate of pasta and some salad and a nice glass of red Italian wine. That's probably one of my favorite meals. I like to cook it, and I like to eat it with friends and family. And one of these months, hopefully, maybe I can have all of you over and we can have a nice pasta meal. So I do love to cook. I wish we had a nicer kitchen in my house. We have a pretty terrible kitchen. But
do you grow basil too?
No, well, we have in the past. What I do is I go to the Acme and I buy you can buy like these hydroponic basil plants. They come in like a little plastic bag.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we use like 3 of those when we make a big vat of sauce for our pasta. We like use some and then we freeze some. So yeah. Anyway, that's my favorite food, favorite meal. So there we go.
Cool.
Now, do you like to eat alone or with people?
I'd rather eat with people. One of the things I miss most about this pandemic is being able to go out to restaurants. I have not been out to a restaurant in 9 months now. We do support local restaurants here in the town that I live in and get takeout and curbside service. We do support the local restaurant businesses, but I will not sit in a restaurant until this pandemic is over.
Just a warning, I'm going to be all over the place on this.
That's
I have
fine.
notes, but I'm probably going to jump a lot, which is weird because this is something I both don't give a shit about and really do care about in some ways. I have like an angry Marxist perspective on food. The thing is that, like I say, most people have like an opinion, like, well, I really like this or that. I don't give a shit. To me, like food is food. I mean, clearly I eat, although I think that most of my weight gain has been due to stress and having to sit in a chair for 12 hours a day and work. So my thing is like, food is food. I'll eat. If you drop it in front of me and there are no eggs in it, I'll eat it and I'll move on. I've got work to do. When I work during the day, my lunches, I run downstairs, grab something, run back up and work. So that's just how my attitude toward food. I could do what David Lynch did. David Lynch for 2 years went to Bob's Big Boy and ate the same lunch. I could do that. It's just something to throw some stuff in me during the day. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate food. If you cook something nice for me, I will enjoy it. I'll be very happy, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. And again, a lot of it is, I think, maybe 2 factors. The one is I've worked a lot of jobs in my life where I had a limited lunchtime, and you just get in the mindset of I'll grab something, I'll eat, and I'll get back to work. So for all you working class people watching this, I want to hear from you in the comments. And for those of you who grew up in the privileged class, feel free to go fuck yourselves. But the thing is that the other thing I think maybe I was lucky enough to have a mother who couldn't cook, which was fantastic. It left her more time to follow Mary Hartman. And if offered the choice between getting to watch Mary Hartman with my mom and homemade mashed potatoes, I'll take Mary Hartman any day. But because my mom couldn't cook, like, again, if I had some food, happy to get it. And then, the thing is, that's like, I've never, the contrast is my wife's family, all about food. Big Italian family. They would cook these incredible meals. I would go over there for the 7 fishes and they would complain. They'd be like, "Oh, the bacala is a little dry this year." I'm like, "What is wrong with you people?" I took my nephew there one year. I'm like, this is where they've been hiding all the food. This is where all the food has been. And I enjoy that. But again, it's just not, if I have a choice of that, to me, that's kind of the same, but just me sitting at a counter somewhere and eating. I just kind of do that quickly. And again, it may have something to do with the fact that I'm always jumping around doing something and I have to prioritize things. Food, not a priority. I put it in me. And again, I would probably look a lot better if it were a less stressful time. So there's that. As for the by the way, the other thing about the time factor I've got to mention, I'm lucky enough to have people from India on my team. And before COVID, we would have these incredible team lunches where I love Indian food again, but I could eat anything. And they would cook these meals, but I would be sitting there eating with everybody at the team lunch, looking at the clock and thinking of the work that was piling up. So I tend to deprioritize food. As for eating alone or with people, God, do I prefer to eat alone. I prefer to have my breakfast alone. To me, the 4 worst words that you can say to a person are, "May I join you?" No, I want to eat in peace. I want to eat quickly. I think the only good thing that I could say about COVID is that COVID killed dinner parties. Dinner parties are horrible. I would rather, seriously, listen to George Martin's In My Life album on repeat over and over for a week than go to another dinner party. Some dinner parties are good. If you've invited me to a dinner party, there's a chance I have fun. But my problem with dinner parties is that, unlike a regular party, if I'm trapped this close to an asshole at a regular party, I can get away. I can go, "Oh, look, there's a fire or a baby wolf or something," and I can go. At a dinner party, I'm sitting there knowing it's coming. And what's coming is the people who, they're just waiting for something in the meal so they can tell you about their trip to Tuscany. I was like, "Oh, this is good, but let me tell you about what we had in Tuscany." I'm like, and I have to sit there. I know it's coming. It happens at every. So the thing is, I wait until they're done, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm currently working on a song called Trust Fund Twats Trample Tuscany. So enjoy that." So my rule is, if you're having a dinner party and you invite me, please make sure there's some poor people there who grew up without a lot of good food, who are just going to sit there, eat the food and be okay with it, and not talk about their trip to Tuscany. So that's my sort of politics of food, Marxist take on food. I'm sorry if I went off on a tangent, but man, I always have to get this shit out of my system. Joseph?
Joe?
I like to eat also food. And about a year ago, maybe it was over a year ago, I started making noodles for lunch, and I haven't stopped. I've been having noodles in some form, either stir fry, or lately it's been in soups, and I don't follow any recipe. I just do it. I've been using udon noodles, and then I started with udon and I moved on to ramen. Now I'm stuck on ramen for a while. Now, the thing I like to make when people are coming over is lasagna. That used to be my one thing. And I've made many different kinds of that too. I stopped after a while. I started with a recipe that came from a cookbook I had way back when. I think it's the Good Housekeeping cookbook. But then over time, I just went off recipe and just started experimenting. I used the basic sauce from the recipe, which is heavy on thyme, 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 and basil. And I agree, fresh basil is the way to go, but it's kind of expensive, and unless you're growing it, I think, to always use it. But lasagna, in case you don't know what that is, I think most people know what it is, but it's made with these flat pasta noodles. I've never made my own pasta. That sounds intriguing though. I know it. I've heard it tastes much better when you make your own. But it's a layered thing with starting with the noodles and then you put some cheeses. I use ricotta and eggs and I put spinach. I mix spinach in with that almost always. And I can make a vegetarian, not vegan, but vegetarian. But when it's meat, I usually use ground beef or ground turkey. And there's, what is it, mozzarella cheese. Sometimes I go to restaurants and I'll order the lasagna, but it never turns out right for some reason in a restaurant. Lasagna is not one of those things. I like to try minestrone soups in Italian restaurants. And when I'm in Mexican restaurants, I always go for the chili relleno. And I've never made that on my own. I think eating is better with people. Not eating with people is better. It's more fun to eat with people. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how you doing? See you later.
Although,
My favorite food is the first thing I eat in the morning. The first thing I eat in the morning is my favorite food. Right?
The first thing.
First thing I eat in the morning. That's my favorite food. Changes every day.
I'm also not a big food person, but I make breakfast when I can, and it's a lot of times with eggs. I like making egg breakfasts. The kids like it. Different styles, omelets, sunny side up, scrambled. I've never tried poached, but I think I will.
Will your kids eat vegetable omelet?
Yeah, they all mostly like vegetables, spinach. You know, put some garlic in there too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big food person. Like Rodney was saying, like I eat food because I have to.
Yeah.
You know.
Something to do.
Live to eat to live.
Eat to live.
Live to eat.
Feed.
Now, Dan, you know about my hatred of eggs, right? I mean, you're aware of this.
I'm vaguely
That's the
aware.
one food I will not eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Yugoslavia once, and I ordered a pizza, and there's an ingredient EI. I didn't know what, and it came with a raw egg broken on it. I thought, this is it. This is the moment when I crack and cry in front of everybody.
That was delicious pizza. Maybe it had something to do with us riding for like 12 hours and not eating. So
Yeah, the egg made me cry.
all right. Yeah, I that's right, Dan. I remember from a previous big questions you said you were not a big food person.
Yeah.
I'm with him on this.
Okay, it's recommendations time.
Woohoo!
Ding 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 ding. Here we are coming up. It's the week before Thanksgiving. I recommend that people do not let their guard down. I recommend that you continue to wear a mask. You're going to have to wear a mask for a few more months at least. And please be careful around your friends and loved ones. Do not let your guard down. Continue to be vigilant and careful. We did get some good news in the last week about vaccines, but they're not available yet. So you can't just like start running around like there's nothing going on. So please, I recommend you wear your mask, wash your hands, socially distance, get outside, take a walk, but say hi to your neighbors, but from at least 6 feet away. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, I'm not. I usually don't spend Thanksgiving with my family, but particularly this year, I'm not. I'm going to spend it on the couch with my TV family, the cast of Below Deck Mediterranean, who's my real family anyway, because they film everything in their lives and you get to follow their journey. I've never followed my sister's journeys. Okay, so this is quick thing before I get to my recommendation. Look at this. Can you see this?
Yeah, I saw that online. That's pretty cool.
Dead Milkmen action figure. I appeared on the JT Habersaat's On the Road podcast. It was me, Doug Stanhope, and the Lizard Man. The Lizard Man, the guy who's transforming himself into a lizard, who, by the way, folks, has a degree in physics. So, yeah, you can't mock the Lizard Man. Very, very bright guy. And Stanhope, and we were all pounding beers, and they sent me this, and it's a one of a kind, and it's a Dead Milkmen action figure. And on the back, you can see, this is my favorite thing, the Meth Yeti. it's a shame these are one of a kind you can't, because I would like to own the meth Yeti too. But this actually, if I had a child, I couldn't love the child as much as I love this. So that is awesome. Yeah. So if you get a chance, the On the Road podcast, we were smashed. Like, I knew Stanhope was going to be on. They said, put a pile of beers down by you. And the show went on for about 2.5 hours. And at one point it dawned on me, Habersaat and Stanhope were talking about these comedy clubs and stuff. And I'm like, there's a man on the show who's transforming himself into a lizard. Why are we talking about this? Why can't we focus on Lizard Man? But that turned out to be a good time. And I got an action figure. So I'll include links for JT. All right. So recommendations, not doing music this week. I'm going to have two that are kind of tied together. The first is I'm going to recommend a documentary. It's called Blood and Flesh: The Real Life and Ghastly Death of Al Adamson. If you don't know, Al Adamson was a director, writer, producer in the mostly in the 60s and 70s when he did a lot of his work. He did one of my favorite bad films, Dracula versus Frankenstein. There's a guy in the documentary who talks about Adamson the way I think Joe talks about me, where he says, like, well, I tried to show him everything I knew. I tried to teach him to act, to direct, to write. He never got good at any of it. I think that's like Joe going, yeah, I tried to teach him to sing, right, play instrument. He never got good. So yeah, I heavily recommend that. Al had a very sad and kind of frightening death. Was murdered. You need to see this documentary. It's absolutely fascinating, and there are UFOs in it. And the other thing, I want to recommend all things Scott Michaels. If you're not familiar with Scott Michaels, he runs the Dearly Departed tour out in LA. After Philadelphia, my favorite city is Hollywood. And as soon as COVID is done, Vienna and I are hopping on a plane and we're going to go out and do the Dearly Departed tour. Scott has just this encyclopedic knowledge of weird death in LA. We'll put up the thing for his YouTube channel. It's fascinating, but I'll also send a link for a thing he did called 6 Degrees of Helter Skelter. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. It's about like an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 40 minutes long. And it's a fascinating documentary where he links all this stuff from Manson. And also, I love the guy because he doesn't care about Manson. Screw Manson, screw the Manson girls. He's more interested in the victims, and just a very interesting guy with just this, again, like say, encyclopedic knowledge. He can tell you why Lucy is buried where she's buried. So fun facts. So yeah, so there are my two things. The documentary about Al Adamson, again called Flesh and Blood: The Real Life and Ghastly Death of Al Adamson, and all things Scott Michaels. And I'll send out links for JT Habersaat's. Awesome. He makes individual toys. Need to get some of this stuff.
Wow. I like to recommend a cookbook my boyfriend gave me called the Bob's Burgers Burger Book.
That's cool.
And it's real recipes for joke burgers. If you watch Bob's Burgers, you'll know that every episode has a different burger of the day on the chalkboard. It's just one of the things that's part of the thing. But an actual person was inspired by a number of those burgers of the day and made real burgers out of them, made a recipe.
So they are edible.
Card, along with the writers of the show, came up with this book, and I've already cooked a couple of them. It also tells you how to the proper way to cook a burger and to season a burger. So you learn some things. So that's that. And another book which I recommend doesn't come out in book form until next year, but it's already on the internet. You can read it for free. It's called You Are Here, a Field Guide for Navigating Polarized Speech, Conspiracy Theories, and Our Polluted Media Landscape by Whitney Phillips and Ryan M. Milner. And the first chapter of it, as you probably know, I'm interested in conspiracy theories. You probably know that already. But it kind of explains why people believe in them to begin with. But the first chapter, I think, is at least interesting enough to read if you don't want to read all 6 chapters. The first chapter covers things we've covered already, we've talked about. It covers the Satanic Panic. It covers what do you call those?
Tracks.
Tracks, but specifically Spellbound, which I was amazed that they picked that one out.
Fuck yeah.
Covers the PMRC. It basically covers the 1980s media landscape of then and the conspiracy theories then. But it then chapter 2 takes us into the internet age, and these are two people that are way younger than. They're probably Dan's age. They're younger than us, except not younger than Dan. But they're academics, and they use a metaphor of ecology for information. So it's like information pollution they're talking about is disinformation or misinformation. It's interesting. And the 6th chapter talks about how to deal with this.
You ever read Michael Shermer's Why People Believe Weird Things?
No, that sounds good.
It's a good book. I have a different theory on it. I think that because the internet is a new medium, back in the day when the new mediums were introduced, people would believe anything shown on them. That's why when you see maps, when maps first came about the world, people believed there were people walking around with their heads in their stomachs and dog heads and stuff, because it was a new, and same thing with radio. War of the Worlds happened. It was a new medium. People tend to trust implicitly. If they see it in a new medium, they haven't quite learned to discern what is fake. And I think that's one of my theories.
That's my recommendation, that Rodney write a book.
Thank you.
I don't really have one, so you can make it that. Or just look up in the skies. It's been really cool clouds lately.
Keep watching the sky. Rogue Beer makes every third beer in the 6-pack is blank, so you can draw on it. So I drew a penis on mine the other day. So. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Speaking about food, wait a minute. My mother just texted, and she lost the recipe for ice. So I have to send that.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.